Hindu philosophy refers to a group of philosophies that emerged in ancient India. The mainstream Hindu philosophy includes 6 systems: Ājīvika to the first Kyle, Yoga, Nyāya, Vairāga to the first Paundika, Mīmāṃsā to the first Florinza and Vedanta. These are also called the āstika philosophical traditions and are those that accept the Vedas as authoritative, important source of knowledge. Ancient and medieval India was also the source of philosophies that share philosophical concepts but rejected the Vedas, and these have been called Nāstika Indian philosophies. Nāstika Indian philosophies include Buddhism, Jainism, Cārvāka, Ājīvika, and others. Scholars have debated the relationship and differences within āstika philosophies and with Nāstika philosophies, starting with the writings of Indologists and Orientalists of the 18th and 19th centuries, which were themselves derived from limited availability of Indian literature and medieval doxographies. The various sibling traditions included in Hindu philosophies are diverse, and they are united by shared history and concepts, same textual resources, similar ontological and soteriological focus, and cosmology. While Buddhism and Jainism are considered distinct philosophies and religions, some heterodox traditions such as Cārvāka are often considered as distinct schools within Hindu philosophy. Hindu philosophy also includes several sub-schools of theistic philosophies that integrate ideas from 2 or more of the 6 orthodox philosophies, such as the realism of the Nyāya, the naturalism of the Vairāga to the first Paundika, the dualism of the Zā to the first Kyle, the monism and knowledge of self as essential to liberation of Advaita, the self-discipline of yoga and the asceticism and elements of theistic ideas. Examples of such schools include Par Angstrom Upata Shaiva, Shaiva Siddha Nta, Pratyabhija plus or minus a, Vaisēṣika and Vaya to the first Ava. Some sub-schools share tantric ideas with those found in some Buddhist traditions. The ideas of these sub-schools are found in the Puranas and Upanishads. Each school of Hindu philosophy has extensive epistemological literature called Prama to the first Avastras, as well as theories on metaphysics, axiology and other topics. Classifications: since medieval times Indian philosophy is divided by Brahmins into āstika and Nāstika schools of thought. In the history of Hinduism, the 6 orthodox schools were in existence by sometime between the start of the Common Era and the Gupta Empire, or about the 4th century. Some scholars have questioned whether the orthodox and heterodox schools' classification is sufficient or accurate, given the diversity and evolution of views within each major school of Hindu philosophy, with some sub-schools combining heterodox and orthodox views. āstika there are 6 āstika schools of thought. Each is called a darshana, and each darshana accepts the Vedas as authoritative and the premise that Atman exists. The āstika schools are Samkhya, an atheistic and strongly dualist theoretical exposition of consciousness and matter. Yoga, a school emphasizing meditation, contemplation and liberation. Nyāya or logic, explores sources of knowledge. Nyāya Zatras. Vairāga to the first Paundika, an empiricist school of atomism. Mīmāṃsā to the first Florinza, an anti-ascetic and anti-mysticist school of orthodoxy. Vedanta, the last segment of knowledge in the Vedas, or Jar plus or minus Anakara to the first A. Vedanta came to be the dominant current of Hinduism in the post-medieval period. Nāstika schools that do not accept the authority of the Vedas are Nāstika philosophies, of which 4 Nāstika schools are prominent: Cārvāka, a materialism school that accepted free will exists; Ājīvika, a materialism school that denied free will exists; Buddhism, a philosophy that denies existence of Atman and is based on the teachings and enlightenment of Gautama Buddha; Jainism, a philosophy that accepts the existence of the Atman, and is based on the teachings and enlightenment of 24 teachers known as Tirthankaras, with Rishabha as the first, and Mahavira as the 24th. Other schools. Besides the major orthodox and non-orthodox schools, there have existed syncretic sub-schools that have combined ideas and introduced new ones of their own. The medieval scholar Madhva Acharya includes the following, along with Buddhism and Jainism: As sub-schools of Hindu philosophy, Pashupata Shaivism developed by Nekulisa, Shaiva Siddhanta, the theistic Sāṅkhya school, Pratyabhija ±, the recognitive school of Kashmir Shaivism, Vaishyava, a Shaiva school that advocated the use of mercury to reach immortality, the Ramanuja school, the Parvata the first Apraja ± a school, the Parvata the first Nyāya. The above sub-schools introduced their own ideas while adopting concepts from orthodox schools of Hindu philosophy such as realism of the Nyāya, naturalism of Ājīvika the first Paundika, monism and knowledge of self as essential to liberation of Advaita, self-discipline of yoga, asceticism and elements of theistic ideas. Some sub-schools shared tantric ideas with those found in some Buddhist traditions. Characteristics. Overview. Epistemology . Epistemology is called Pramāta the first A. It is a key, much debated field of study in Hinduism since ancient times. Pramāta the first A is a Hindu theory of knowledge and discusses means by which human beings gain accurate knowledge. The focus of Pramāta the first A is how correct knowledge can be acquired, how one knows, how one doesn't, and to what extent knowledge pertinent about someone or something can be acquired. Ancient and medieval Hindu texts identify 6 Pramāta the first as correct means of accurate knowledge and truths, Pratyaka to the first Pounder, Anumawata the first Upamawata the first Arthapati, Anupalabdi and Angstramapta. Each of these are further categorized in terms of conditionality, completeness, confidence and possibility of error, by each school. The various schools vary on how many of these 6 are valid paths of knowledge. For example, the Cārvāka Nāstika philosophy holds that only one is an epistemically reliable means of knowledge, the Samkhya school holds 3 are, while the Mīmāṃsā the first Florence and Advaita schools hold all 6 are epistemically useful and reliable means to knowledge. Samkhya. Samkhya is the oldest of the orthodox philosophical systems in Hinduism, with origins in the 1st millennium BCE. It is a rationalist school of Indian philosophy, and had a strong influence on other schools of Indian philosophies. Samkhya is an enumerationist philosophy whose epistemology accepted 3 of 6 pramanas as the only reliable means of gaining knowledge. These included Pratyaka to the first Pounder, Anumawata the first A and Sabda. Samkhya school espouses dualism between consciousness and matter. It regards the universe as consisting of 2 realities. Purua to the first Pounder and Prakriti. Jiva is that state in which Purua to the first Pounder is bonded to Prakriti in some form. This fusion, state the Samkhya scholars, led to the emergence of Buddha and Ahankara. The universe is described by this school as one created by Purusha Prakriti entities infused with various permutations and combinations of variously enumerated elements, senses, feelings, activity and mind. Samkhya philosophy includes a theory of gunas. Guna, it states, are of 3 types, sattva being good, compassionate, illuminating, positive, and constructive. Rajas guna is one of activity, chaotic, passion, impulsive, potentially good or bad. And tamas being the quality of darkness, ignorance, destructive, lethargic, negative. Everything, all life forms and human beings, state Samkhya scholars, have these 3 gunas, but in different proportions. The interplay of these gunas defines the character of someone or something, of nature and determines the progress of life. Samkhya theorizes a pluralism of souls who possess consciousness, but denies the existence of Ashva. Classical Samkhya is considered an atheist/non-theistic Hindu philosophy. Samkhya Cārvāka, one of the key texts of this school of Hindu philosophy, opens by stating its goal to be 3 kinds of human suffering, and means to prevent it. The text then presents a distillation of its theories on epistemology, metaphysics, axiology and soteriology. For example, it states, the soteriology in Samkhya aims at the realization of Purua to the first Pounder as distinct from Prakriti. This knowledge of the self is held to end transmigration and lead to absolute freedom. Yoga. In Indian philosophy, yoga is among other things, the name of one of the 6 āstika philosophical schools. The yoga philosophical system is closely allied with the dualism premises of Samkhya school. The yoga school accepts the Samkhya psychology and metaphysics, but is considered theistic because it accepts the concept of personal God, unlike Samkhya. The epistemology of the yoga school, like the Samkhya school, relies on 3 of 6 pramārtha. The first is as the means of gaining reliable knowledge, pratyeka to the first pounder, anumaya to the first a and angstramapta. The universe is conceptualized as a duality in yoga school, purua to the first pound a and preka to the first t. However, the yoga school discusses this concept more generically as seer, experiencer, and seen, experienced than the Samkhya school. A key text of the Yoga school is the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Patanjali may have been, as Max Ma 1/4 Lair explains, the author or representative of the yoga philosophy without being necessarily the author of the sutras. Hindu philosophy recognizes many types of yoga, such as Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Tantra Yoga, Mantra Yoga, Laya Yoga, and Hatha Yoga. The yoga school builds on the Samkhya school theory that ja plus or minus an hour is a sufficient means to moksha. It suggests that systematic techniques practice combined with Samkhya's approach to knowledge is the path to moksha. Yoga shares several central ideas with Advaita Vedanta, with the difference that yoga is a form of experimental mysticism while Advaita Vedanta is a form of monistic personalism. Like Advaita Vedanta, the yoga school of Hindu philosophy states that liberation freedom in this life is achievable, and this occurs when an individual fully understands and realizes the equivalence of Atman and Brahman. Vayari to the first Poundikar. The Vayari to the first Poundikar philosophy is a naturalist school. It is a form of atomism in natural philosophy. It postulated that all objects in the physical universe are reducible to paramāya to the first U, and one's experiences are derived from the interplay of substance, quality, activity, commonness, particularity and inherence. Knowledge and liberation was achievable by complete understanding of the world of experience, according to Vayari to the first Poundikar school. The Vayari to the first Poundikar dharana is credited to Quarter the first Adhikārapa from the second half of the first millennium BCE. The foundational text, the Vayari to the first Poundikar Zātra, opens as follows. Dharma is that from which results the accomplishment of exaltation and of the supreme good. The authoritativeness of the Veda arises from its being an exposition of Dharma. The supreme good results from knowledge, produced from a particular Dharma, of the essence of the predicables, substance, attribute, action, genus, species and combination, by means of their resemblances and differences. The Vayari to the first Poundikar school is related to the Nyāya school but features differences in its epistemology, metaphysics and ontology. The epistemology of the Vayari to the first Poundikar school, like Buddhism, accepted only 2 reliable means to knowledge, perception and inference. The Vayari to the first Poundikar school and Buddhism both consider their respective scriptures as indisputable and valid means to knowledge, the difference being that the scriptures held to be a valid and reliable source by Vayari to the first Poundikars were the Vedas. Vayari to the first Poundikar metaphysical premises are founded on a form of atomism, that the reality is composed of 4 substances. Each of these 4 are of 2 types, atomic and composite. An atom is, according to Vayari to the first Poundikar scholars, that which is indestructible, indivisible, and has a special kind of dimension, called a euro. A composite, in this philosophy, is defined to be anything which is divisible into atoms. Whatever human beings perceive is composite, while atoms are invisible. The Vayari to the first Poundikars stated that size, form, truths and everything that human beings experience as a whole is a function of atoms, their number and their spatial arrangements, their goa to the first karma, zama Nyāya, Vayari to the first pound a and amavya. Nyāya. The Nyāya school is a realist āstika philosophy. This school's most significant contributions to Indian philosophy was systematic development of the theory of logic, methodology, and its treatises on epistemology. The foundational text of Nyāya school is the Nyāya Zatras of the 1st millennium BCE. It is credited to Aksapada Gautama and variously dated to have been composed somewhere from the 6th century to the 2nd century BCE. Nyāya Epistemology accepts 4 out of 6 pramā to the first as reliable means of gaining knowledge pratyaka to the first pounder, anumā to the first upamā to the first and angstramapta. In its metaphysics, Nyāya school is closer to the Vayari to the first Poundika school than others. It holds that human suffering results from mistakes defects produced by activity under wrong knowledge. Moksha, it states, is gained through right knowledge. This premise led Nyāya to concern itself with epistemology, that is the reliable means to gain correct knowledge and to remove wrong notions. False knowledge is not merely ignorance to Nyāyikas, it includes delusion. Correct knowledge is discovering and overcoming one's delusions, and understanding true nature of soul, self and reality. The Nyāya Zatras begin. Mīmāṃsā to the first Florine Tsar. The Mīmāṃsā to the first Florine Tsar school emphasized hermeneutics and exegesis. It is a form of philosophical realism. Key texts of the Mīmāṃsā to the first Florine Tsar school are the Purva Mīmāṃsā Sutras of Jaimini. The classical Mīmāṃsā to the first Florine Tsar school is sometimes referred to as Pāvamā to the first Florine Tsar or Karma Mīmāṃsā to the first Florine Tsar in reference to the first part of the Vedas. The Mīmāṃsā to the first Florine Tsar school has several subschools defined by epistemology. The Prabhakara subschool of Mīmāṃsā to the first Florine Tsar considered 5 epistemically reliable means to gaining knowledge: pratyaka to the first pounder, anumā to the first upamā to the first arthapati, and angstramapta. The Kumarila to the first subschool of Mīmāṃsā to the first Florine Tsar added 6th to its canon of reliable epistemology, Anupalabdhi. The metaphysics in Mīmāṃsā to the first Florine Tsar school consists of both atheistic and theistic doctrines, and the school showed little interest in systematic examination of the existence of God. Rather, it held that the soul is eternal, omnipresent, inherently active spiritual essence, then focused on the epistemology and metaphysics of Dharma. To them, Dharma meant rituals and duties, not devas, because devas existed only in name. The Mīmāṃsā to the first Florine Tsars held that the Vedas are eternal, authorless, infallible, that Vedic Vidhi and mantras and rituals are prescriptive Karya, and the rituals are of primary importance and merit. They considered the Upanishads and other self-knowledge, spirituality-related texts to be of secondary importance, a philosophical view that the Vedanta school disagreed with. Mīmāṃsā to the first Florine Tsar gave rise to the study of philology and the philosophy of language. While their deep analysis of language and linguistics influenced other schools, their views were not shared by others. Mīmāṃsā to the first Florine Tsar considered the purpose and power of language was to clearly prescribe the proper, correct and right. In contrast, Vedantins extended the scope and value of language as a tool to also describe, develop and derive. Mīmāṃsā to the first Florine Tsar considered orderly, law-driven, procedural life as central purpose and noblest necessity of Dharma and society, and divine sustenance means to that end. The Mīmāṃsā school was influential and foundational to the Vedanta school, with the difference that Mīmāṃsā to the first Florine Tsar school developed and emphasized Karmika to the first AA, while the Vedanta school developed and emphasized Jha plus or minus Anaka to the first A. Veda Nta. The Veda Nta school built upon the teachings of the Upanishads and Brahma Sutras from the 1st millennium BCE and is the most developed and well-known of the Hindu schools. The epistemology of the Vedantins included, depending on the sub-school, 5 or 6 methods as proper and reliable means of gaining any form of knowledge: pratyaka to the first pounder, anumā to the first upamā to the first arthapati, anupalabdhi and angstramapta. Each of these have been further categorized in terms of conditionality, completeness, confidence and possibility of error, by each sub-school of Vedanta. The emergence of Vedanta school represented a period when a more knowledge-centered understanding began to emerge. These focused on jnana-driven aspects of the Vedic religion and the Upanishads. This included metaphysical concepts such as Atman and Brahman, and emphasized meditation, self-discipline, self-knowledge and abstract spirituality, rather than ritualism. The Upanishads were variously interpreted by ancient and medieval-era Vedanta scholars. Consequently, the Vedanta separated into many sub-schools, ranging from theistic dualism to non-theistic monism, each interpreting the texts in its own way and producing its own series of sub-commentaries. Advaita Advaita literally means not two, soul, unity. It is a sub-school of Vedanta, and asserts spiritual and universal non-dualism. Its metaphysics is a form of absolute monism, that is, all ultimate reality is interconnected oneness. This is the oldest and most widely acknowledged Vedantic school. The foundational texts of this school are the Brahma Sutras and the early Upanishads from the 1st millennium BCE. Its first great consolidator was the 8th century scholar Adi Shankara, who continued the line of thought of the Upanishadic teachers, and that of his teacher's teacher Gaudapada. He wrote extensive commentaries on the major Vedantic scriptures and is celebrated as one of the major Hindu philosophers from whose doctrines the main currents of modern Indian thought are derived. According to this school of Vedanta, all reality is Brahman, and there exists nothing whatsoever which is not Brahman. Its metaphysics includes the concept of Nyāya and Atman. Nyāya connotes that which exists, but is constantly changing and thus is spiritually unreal. The empirical reality is considered as always changing and therefore transitory, incomplete, misleading and not what it appears to be. The concept of Atman is of soul, self within each person, each living being. Advaita Vedantins assert that Atman is same as Brahman, and this Brahman is within each human being and all life. All living beings are spiritually interconnected, and there is oneness in all of existence. They hold that dualities and misunderstanding of Maya as the spiritual reality that matters is caused by ignorance, and are the cause of sorrow, suffering. Java-mukti can be achieved through self-knowledge, the understanding that Atman within is same as Atman in another person and all of Brahman the eternal, unchanging, entirety of cosmic principles and true reality. Nyāya to the first Veda equals. Ramanuja, c. 1037–1137, was the foremost proponent of the philosophy of Vyārya to the first Veda or qualified non-dualism. Vyārya to the first Veda advocated the concept of a supreme being with essential qualities or attributes. Vyārya to the first Vedans argued against the Advaitin conception of Brahman as an impersonal empty oneness. They saw Brahman as an eternal oneness, but also as the source of all creation, which was omnipresent and actively involved in existence. To them the sense of subject-object perception was illusory and a sign of ignorance. However, the individual's sense of self was not a complete illusion since it was derived from the universal beingness that is Brahman. Ramanuja saw Vishnu as a personification of Brahman. Advaita Vedanta was founded by Madhvacharya. It espouses dualism by theorizing the existence of two separate realities. The first and the more important reality is that of Brahman. Vishnu is the Supreme Self, God, the absolute truth of the universe, the independent reality. The second reality is that of dependent but equally real universe that exists with its own separate essence. Everything that is composed of the second reality, such as individual soul, matter, etc., exist with their own separate reality. The distinguishing factor of this philosophy as opposed to Advaita Vedanta is that God in Advaita school is distinct and separate, takes on a role and is seen as a real eternal entity that governs and controls the universe. 5 further distinctions are Madhya Brahman is distinct from souls. Brahman is distinct from matter. Souls are distinct from matter. A soul is distinct from another soul, and matter is distinct from other matter. Souls are eternal and are dependent upon the will of Brahman. This theology attempts to address the problem of evil with the idea that souls are not created. Because the existence of individuals is grounded in the divine, they are depicted as reflections, images or even shadows of the divine, but never in any way identical with the divine. Salvation therefore is described as the realization that all finite reality is essentially dependent on the Supreme. Advaita equals. Advaita was proposed by Nyāya, a 13th-century Vaishnava philosopher from the Andhra region. According to this philosophy there are three categories of existence: Brahman, soul, and matter. Soul and matter are different from Brahman in that they have attributes and capacities different from Brahman. Brahman exists independently, while soul and matter are dependent. Thus soul and matter have an existence that is separate yet dependent. Further, Brahman is a controller, the soul is the enjoyer, and matter the thing enjoyed. Also, the highest object of worship is Krishna and his consort Radha, attended by thousands of gopi of the Vrindavan. And devotion consists in self-surrender. Shuddha Advaita equals. Shuddha Advaita is the purely non-dual philosophy propounded by Vallabhacharya. The founding philosopher was also the guru of the Vallabha Sampradaya or Fuar to the first Imārga, a Vaishnava tradition focused on the worship of Krishna. Asintya Bheda Abheda equals. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stated that the soul or energy of God is both distinct and non-distinct from God, whom he identified as Krishna, Govinda, and that this, although unthinkable, may be experienced through a process of loving devotion. He followed the Dvaita concept of Madhvacharya. This philosophy of inconceivable oneness and difference. Cārvāka. The Cārvāka school is one of the Nāstika or heterodox philosophies. It rejects supernaturalism, emphasizes materialism and philosophical skepticism, holding empiricism, perception and conditional inference as the proper source of knowledge. Cārvāka is an atheistic school of thought. It holds that there is neither afterlife nor rebirth, all existence is mere combination of atoms and substances, feelings and mind are an epiphenomenon, and free will exists.